say if you give a man a gun, he'll rob a bank. But if you give a man a bank, he'll rob everybody. The good news for you is Private Money Club runs solely on peer-to-peer relationships, which means no banks allowed. So finally, there's a community for real estate entrepreneurs where it is truly a win-win solution. This community is a place where you can connect with other lenders and other borrowers, and the end result's massive growth for you. You get to build your real estate empire, and you get to do it solving other people's problems. So if that sounds like a place you want to be, well then join us. Go to privatemoneyclub.com/Kelly. And if you want $500 off, just add the code Kelly500 and I'll knock $500 off the Premier membership. We'll see you on the inside.
For over 90 years, we've been crash testing our cars in the tireless pursuit of automotive safety. At Volvo, safety's been first since 1927. We've saved millions of lives with the invention of the 3-point seatbelt in 1959. At Volvo, we've made driving safer for you and them. Visit safety.finleyvolvo.com to learn more.
Welcome to the Kelly Cardenas podcast, where attitude is everything. On today's show, I have been beaming this morning. I've been getting ready. I think I got ready to then get ready to be able to spend time with my friend now. And it's incredible. I sent out the message to him this morning. I said, you know, can I name this episode? Can I name it Thriving with Parkinson'S? Because I didn't want it to be a situation where I highlighted something that was just a part of who this man is. But I got a resounding yes in the text message back saying, yes, that's a great, title for the show. And so on today's show, you're going to learn about living, and not only living, but thriving with Parkinson's. You're going to learn about entrepreneurship. You're going to learn about how to be able to build an incredible, impeccable brand that's going to last, years and years and years. We're going to learn about legacy, and we're going to learn about how to be able to sustain a business and grow a business, scale a business, with keeping the core principles and values at the absolute core of what it is that you do. It's my pleasure. I got a chance to meet this young man because of another friend of mine. And I think that my mom taught me this. She said, be kind, contribute to everyone, make a ton of friends, and then stay really curious about what other people do, because you already know, Kelly, what you do. And so stay curious, ask questions. And this man came to me because I made a friend. I made a friend and a guy named Josh Black. We met in Alabama. And he told me about this man that he was switching up careers, and he was going to go and have the opportunity to work with this young man that you guys are going to get a chance to spend time with. And he told me about his integrity. He told me about the human being that he is. And he told me that with a couple of simple principles, he's built a business that has lasted over 30 years, has 8 locations, 14 in the group, but also has over 600 employees and does over $32 million a year. So we're going to be talking about all of that, but the main thing that we're going to be talking about is the heart of this man and how simple the principles are that he is stuck to and absolutely loves every single person in his organization and every single person that partakes in his organization. So please welcome to the podcast, Mr. BJ Fratesi.
Thank you, sir.
It's so great to have you. I want to hop right in. A lot of people will, they would dream of having an organization with over 600 employees. And you're so humble because you always tell me part-time and full-time. But I just say, 600 people in an organization, BJ, where does a person start to be able to grow that? Because you didn't start with 600 people. Maybe you started with a couple, but how have you been able to keep those, keep people growing in the same culture and thriving for, over 30 years?
Well, you have to have a vision and a value system that's consistent throughout your organization. And, we did that 30 years ago, and we still have it on the wall. Our vision and mission statement, vision statement, and so it's as long as everybody knows what that statement is, and it's on the wall, and there's no cutting corners. you can sustain that. I mean, it's you never quit. Every shift's a new shift, and you never quit taking care of customers. You never quit taking care of your employees. You try to listen, and you listen some more, because our business has evolved because of our customers' comments and our employees' comments, and that's why we're here, because of those two people, and they've made us better. And if we hadn't have been consistent, we wouldn't be here.
So BJ, I know that you shared it. You shared it with one of the people in our mastermind group on Facebook. Her name is Jennifer, and she was blown away. You sent her a picture, and you posted it for all of us. You sent the picture of those core values. Can you share them with us? Because I think a lot of times, again, when a person looks at a 600-person company, when they look at $32 million in revenue, then they go to the complicated. But you have seemed to find the holy grail, I call it, in the simplicity of making sure that you lock into those values. Can you share those? Would
Sure.
you be willing to share them?
Yeah, first, exceed our customers' expectations. Work as a team. Be clean and safe. It's a family atmosphere. No compromise on standards and quality. Be honest and fair. Relax and have fun. Improve consistently or constantly.
BJ, hold on for a second. What you just listed off, and this is not to take away from the impact that has had and the growth that has created, but what you just listed off was not something that was rocket science. And so and when I say that, it's incredible, because I think a lot of times we go to the complicated. We go as humans, we're like, oh, this thing is going to be so, it's going to have so many moving parts, it's going to do all these things. And I don't mean to oversimplify it, but let's take the first one. Repeat back to me the first one that you said.
Exceed our customers' expectations.
Okay. Where did you come up with this, and what does it mean to you? I mean, when you see it living, breathing, tell us about a specific that maybe in the last, week or two, because you're working every day. You told me when we get off the podcast, you're actually going back to work. And
That's
for
right.
those of you listening out there, BJ doesn't have to go to work today. He doesn't have to. He wants to. So I think that's one of the biggest ones. But talk to us about exceeding the expectations, and what does that look like?
We have so many repeat customers. They know better what the food should taste like. Almost whenever I hear a customer say something that it may be a little off, I go straight to the kitchen, because they're usually right. And you just in our business, before they leave and walk out the door, I want to see a smile on their face. I want to say thank you. I want to hear come back again, and when they do come back again, that means we've exceeded we've taken care of their expectations. But we want to always exceed that. We want to be the best, and being the best, it can. The definition of being the best is, how did we make them feel, and if we did that, it's amazing how many repeat customers we have. I see some at lunch at one store, and I'll go to another store, and they're there at dinner that same day. It's crazy, but we love it. We love it. It's a family atmosphere, and you're always trying to exceed their expectations. We're a hospitality business, and so it's like bringing them into your home. And how you treat your guests when they come to your house is how we treat our guests when they come to our house.
So BJ, how do you get it to not become overwhelming for your staff? Because there's a lot of environments that will want to exceed, and what I hear from you is that you're wanting to exceed the expectations that you have set in their mind over the years. So if a person comes in this Friday, they have a phenomenal experience. The next time they come in, they're not looking at the first standard before they ever came in to exceed. You're looking to exceed last Friday. sometimes this can cause pressure on a organization and on the team members inside of it. But it seems like you've figured out a way to be able to relieve that pressure from your staff so they can give the best possible service. Can you help us with some insight with that?
Yeah, I mean, the old thing is take care of your customers. Now it's take care of your servers and your staff, because they're the ones that are on the line with your customers. They see them and talk to them more than we do. And so if we can take care of our employees and teach them the right way to take care of our guests, and give them that freedom to be themselves, they're the ones that make us exceed their expectations. It's not us. And if you break it down like that, it's easier. I won't say it's as easy, but it's easier to make sure that they take care of them, not us.
What are some of the blind spots that business owners have when they're treating? Because we hear this now, like, you'll hear the overarching, the 30,000 foot view of treating your team and focusing on them. But what are some of the things, like specifics, that you do with Rosie's that, kind of creates that feel? I mean, what are some actionable items that a person can do for their company or for their employees and their team? Because if their team is lifted up, they'll lift up their clients. But a lot of times owners go and they say, you know what, I got to be so hard on my staff to make sure they're so disciplined. But by the time they get to the guest, that person that is serving them isn't feeling lifted up. So what are some of the specifics that you're doing?
Well, one thing we do is build that strong relationship and know that person outside of the restaurant. Whether they're taking care of a sick mom, if they got kids that they have responsibility. So you start learning about their lives, and so you can have more empathy and a different perspective, and you can schedule them different if they have to be. They have to know you care, and you have to build that trust both ways. And we started about 6 months ago. We have pre-shifts for our servers every morning, and it got to be where they were talking about pre-busing and all the techniques that maybe that we wasn't doing. So I heard in listening to Simon Sinek. He was talking about Nelson Mandela's father. When he had a tribal meeting, they would sit around in a circle, and his dad would always speak last. And so we converted that to our system. Twice a week, we set up tables in a circle before the shift starts, and we come up with a topic: gratitude, and any topic, hobbies, stuff that we want to learn about our employees, and it will go around a circle. And it just that has changed our relationship tenfold. But just give them continuous training too, and we require a trainee to come in and work probably 10 shifts before he actually goes on the floor. 2 plates, and he does his follows. And so before that server gets on the floor, he's well trained, because 2 things: he can make more money if he's trained, he knows the menu, and it's less comps for us. So you have to build that, like your dad said, like you said in that book. If you don't have a relationship, and you put in a lot of new rules, what's that going to cause? Chaos. And so that's what happens. So you got to have a happy employee to have a happy customer. Because if you make a server mad, or the cook, sometimes they'll get mad at a server for making mistakes, and if once they get out on the floor, it's showtime. So we don't stress if they make mistakes, because we can fix those mistakes, because that customer's sitting in that table right there now. If he leaves and we can't, and no, we don't fix it, that's when we probably come down on the server more than, if he knew. But it's a relationship. It's just building a strong relationship and knowing that person outside the restaurant. And that can go in any business. If you don't know your people and you don't know the families or the kids, you don't know nothing.
So BJ, what about the people that, and I hear this all the time, like, I remember reading a CEO book, and it said, go to the party, show up, but show up for 5 minutes and then take off. And even when I read it, I mean, it was a reputable author. I looked at it and I was like, because most of the time I find the magic happens at the bar. Like, you know what I mean? Like when you get a chance to be able to sit down, someone loosens up a little bit. And I used to think, oh man, I don't want to be loose around my people at first. And then I realized, unless I get loose around my people a little bit and not getting sloppy, but it wouldn't really open them up. What do you do to foster the relationships of the cooks with the servers, with the hostess, because them connecting too, I find, and this is what I'm hearing from you, if they're communicating amazing, then the customer gets a phenomenal experience. And in a lot of places, they emphasize the team, they pump up the individual, and then the individual thinks that they're competing with another individual team member, and that causes friction. But you've seemed to figure it out. How have you been able to foster those relationships of the cook to the to the manager, to the hostess, to the server, and make sure that stuff is meshing also?
Well, we definitely have sometimes us and them problem, and we try to fix it pretty quick, because it only hurts the customer. And our management team, each store probably has about 7 or 8 managers. Of course, the general manager, the kitchen manager, and then the assistants, and then of course myself and the other owners. We're actually in the store every day, pre-bussing, bussing tables. If the dishwasher didn't show up, we're washing dishes, and people see that, and then so the tension and that stress between the different departments is eliminated, because they see the bosses cleaning the restroom. I go in the restroom every hour or so just to make sure it's in perfect shape. Because when a customer comes in, if he goes to the restroom and it's a mess, he's going to say, "Oh my God, the kitchen's going to be a mess." And so we try to strive that we're all a team: owners, hostesses, bussers. It's a team effort, and that's one of our thing is be a team, and we all can understand that it's easier to get through a shift as a team than not, and so you just keep promoting and get out there and have fun with them. I call one of our stores that I spent a good time. I call our bussers NASCAR, because they are turning that table so quick it blows my mind. And you may see at a big table 3 bussers and 2 managers over there cleaning it up. And and customers see that. If they're on we're on an hour wait, and they see us busting our butt, managers, owners, they have a little more respect and patience of not being set, within that time frame. So it's a crazy business. It's a fun business, and it's a people business. But on a Friday night when my buddies are going home from work on their 8 to 5 jobs, and I'm going out of my subdivision to my job, it don't bother me. I'm going to have fun.
So where'd you learn that type of where'd you learn that type of mentality? Because when you look at for me, knowing the whole picture, right? So I see the whole picture. I don't just see BJ, like getting to a chance to be able to know you and spend some time with you. I don't see BJ, the restaurateur mogul. I don't just see BJ with Parkinson's. I don't just see BJ, the incredible friend. I don't see BJ, the guy who is listening to more podcasts, reading more books than most people. And when you don't really have to, but and improving, I see the whole picture, and it's amazing because it's consistent. Like, it's consistent with every single thing that you do. So let's track back. Let's go back to young BJ. Who was imparting these principles for you? You grew up in Mississippi, right? You have 2 older brothers and then a younger sister, right? And so who was it was your mom laying the hammer down? Was your dad? Were they teaching you these principles? Or was it a part of your environment as far as culture where you grew up?
They instill the principles of treating everybody fairly, and being kind, but when I was in junior college, I worked at a service station, and the town I grew up in, the railroad track split the population between white and black, and so I worked at a service station that was right on the line, and I'd say 85% of our customers were African American, and that taught me that if I could take care of people, no matter what color, what creed, or whatever, and have a good time at it, then I could do anything I wanted. So that kind of started it, and I passed my CPA exam, and so I had different clients. But until I got into the restaurant business, that kind of changed me, because you had to have a personality to be able to get out into the audience and be a leader, and so but my parents were they had high standards, and they both worked, and as a young little kid, through I'd say 5 years, my second mother was an African American, because back then your parents worked, somebody had to take care of the kids, and I was young enough, and they would hire a African American, and that person would become my mother, my second mother, and so it just that whole life that I had was such a blessing, because my first song that I ever remember them singing was "Hit the Road Jack," and Indianola is famous for B.B. King's birthplace, and so that blues trail from Memphis to Natchez, I think, or Vicksburg, it promotes the blues, and it's just a small town, and everybody knew each other. Yeah, there was some racism, there was some calling names, but at the end of the day, we loved each other, and that's what's most important. It's not again, it's how you treat, how you make them feel, and that you just stay consistent, and somewhere along the line, I saw that if you do that, you're gonna make more friends, you're gonna make more money, you're gonna have a better life. All that just it just hit me that just be nice, show them your heart, and
BJ, when did you find that those things started to pay dividends? Because we'll hear you've heard of my pop. You didn't get a chance to meet my pop, but my pop was the guy. Like he would have sayings. There's only one business in the world, boy, and that's the people business. You take the people out the business, you got no business at all. Like, he was saying these things over and over, and for a long time I was mad at him, and I was like, Dad, you sound like a broken record. And then I remember opening my first business. I remember being so mad, BJ, when I had to take notes when I was in fourth grade. I had to take 10 pages of notes before I could go out and play every single day. And I was mad until probably 20, 30 years later, I opened my first business, and I build the business based off the principles that I wrote when I was 10 years old. When did it catch for you, and when did you start to see that these principles of being nice, being kind, treating people with love, lifting them up, making friends, when did it start to make that little cha-ching sound that you like to hear as a business owner?
Well, I guess after I got out of college, I went to work for a CPA firm, and I guess that's kind of when the money and being helpful and being important, and when you start messing with people's money and taxes, it changes the whole concept. And so I spent 8 years as a CPA in the public accounting arena, and I guess that's where I built how I treat people and how I feel about people. But again, until I got into this restaurant business, it just took me to another level, because I could see good food, good product, good service, knowing your customers, knowing your employees. You can see it in our sales, and I'm not, it's not about money. It's about relationships and having fun and being proud of what you've accomplished. And when we first decided to open a Mexican restaurant, I didn't know what an enchilada was. I never ate Mexican. So, and no, I'd gone to Taco Bell a couple times, but that was it. And so my partner said, well, we'll hire some people that will come in and teach us how to do it. And my wife at the time was said, y'all are crazy. Y'all don't know nothing about this business. But we knew service, and we knew how to take care of customers, and we worked our butts off on our first store, because we knew if the first store didn't succeed, there wasn't going to be a second one or a third one. And so we just busted our butt and learned our customer and learned our employees again, kept a clean restaurant, spent so much money on our bathrooms as far as tile and kept that clean. It was just the vision we had was to be successful and Simon Sinek says finite or infinite business, and what are you? And we're an infinite, because we're steadily trying to improve. Even now, we change things. I have a assistant manager that came to me last week, and I'm working with him on leadership every Wednesday morning. And he came to me and wanted to change the way we take the chips and sauces to the tables. Instead of Buster's taking chips and sauces, he said, why don't we let our hostesses, because they have more time up there. 30 years, it took us 30 years to figure this out. And a newbie and a new manager came to us and saw it. And but he had been a busser before, so I don't know if I've answered your question, but it just it didn't. I guess it sounded more in the restaurant business, because I was in the operational side. Before, I'd been in the administrative and financial side, and I didn't hear ka-chings. And so once I got out in the operational side, I heard the ka-chings, and they made me happy.
Well, I think it's cool too to be unafraid of talking about money, because I remember early on in my life, I didn't want to talk about money, because it was like I was taught early that you either you lead with your heart and you function by your heart, or you function by money, but you can't have the two. But then I met people like you. And I met people like you, and my pops showed me this throughout the time, is the byproduct of you doing what your purpose to do is you're going to be rewarded for it. And a lot of times you're going to be rewarded for it financially. So we're going to cut to a commercial break, but this is the question I'm going to ask you before, and then we're going to come back and I want you to answer this. I've found in my travels that if you don't love numbers, you'll always be controlled by someone who does. And I when we come back from commercial break, I would like to be able to understand, because you came from a CPA background, you were a CFO, you were a CFO in the Stakeout franchise, and then you became an owner in this. And I want to go down that rabbit hole as far as the entrepreneurs out there that are saying, like, I'm not really a numbers person, but I'm an idea person. I want us to talk about some of the pitfalls that you can have if you don't have a financial mind and you're going into business.
Right.
So right after the commercial break, BJ is going to answer those questions and many more, and we're going to go into the Parkinson'S journey too, because I think this is so absolutely interesting, but it's something that you haven't let define you.
Uh-oh, it looks like we piqued your interest in the Hideout. First of all, let me tell you what the Hideout is not. The Hideout is not for hustlers, for grinders, or for people who are looking for a shortcut to what the world calls success. The Hideout is about growing as men, creating lifelong friendships, and having the time of our lives. Are you ready to tap in to the endless source that will take you from success to significance? The Hideout is 2.5 days of hiking, biking, and doing the little things that it takes to create lifelong friendships. I find that joy is nothing more than falling in love with your current circumstances and allowing magic to happen. And that's when we see growth in every area of your life. Have you accomplished your goals professionally and financially, and you still thirst for something more? Has success in these areas come at the expense of far more valuable things, like your family, your children, and your relationships? Alignment in business, strategic partnerships, and joint ventures all come from true relationships. The Hideout is designed to get to know people before you'll ever meet them. This is not your typical mastermind. The Hideout is focused on the one thing that will fuel everything: joy. And when joy is overflowing in your life, you'll find growth in your marriage, your relationships, and oh yeah, your business.
The way I see it is you've got two choices. You can either keep pretending like nothing bad's ever gonna happen to you, and then when it does, you're saying, uh-oh, or you can get ahead of what's coming so that when it does, not if, you're ready for it. And you're sitting pretty, sipping on Mai Tais next to the pool, working on that Caribbean suntan, because you got it covered. So folks, it's time for you to learn the truth about money. It's time for you to take back control of your money so that you are ready for what's about to happen. By doing that, you're setting yourself up for absolute success. No matter what comes your way, you're ready for it. And that's what I want for you, and I want to help you with that. So go to chrisnaugle.com and sign up for the Wealth Webinar. We do them every Wednesday at 1 p.m., and you need to be there because it's time to get prepared.
Welcome back. Now, I asked the question before the commercial break about the importance of understanding and falling in love with numbers. And it's great because my buddy Chris Naugle, he's the #1 money mentor in the country. He was just talking as far as you saw it on the commercial, and this was something that I didn't learn about very early on, which was financial literacy. And so you'll want to check out Chris Naugle. The other thing, you saw a commercial for Volvo earlier. The cool thing is not only is Volvo Vinley Volvo of Las Vegas, a sponsor for our podcast, but also it was the very first luxury car that I ever got a chance to have, and it was my mom's favorite car that she's ever had. None of those things, having a luxury car or building a business, is possible, BJ, without numbers. So I said it before the break that if you don't love numbers, you'll always be controlled by someone who does. Can you expand on that?
In our business, we drive sales. Sales is our #1 number, of course, and You do that by repeat customers. You do that by expanding your restaurant. You do that by just growing your restaurants, your locations. And but if you don't look at your costs, one day you're gonna wake up and you're gonna be behind on cash. And what we do is we do a weekly, what we call flash. It's a P&L, and we build in all our costs that are fixed, that don't change really from month to month, or period to period, and we calculate, put our sales and all our variable information in there. So on a Monday or Tuesday, we know what our profit is for that week, and we feel like that if you got a store that's having some issues with labor or not making the same amount of money, then you can narrow it down to what it is. When COVID hit, that just it took us to another level. We were shut down for 2 to 3 months, and then we could start doing takeout, and that was one opportunity that we never saw, is that several of our stores didn't have a curbside business before COVID, and so after COVID we did, and we've sustained that takeout menu, that takeout revenue. We still are busy inside the restaurants because people want to get out, but that curbside that we didn't have before COVID and we do now, it's 20% of our business. And so, being a CPA, it helped me with the numbers, but you've got to be able to know your numbers, and you got to know them quick. You can't wait to the end of the month because it's too late. Because that money has been gone out the door, either theft or over portioning, or your pricing is not right. Right now, our biggest problem is getting merchandise. Getting packaging and getting. My kitchen manager goes to Sam's almost every day because he can't get stuff out of our distribution facilities, and so also everything is made fresh at our restaurants. Nothing is bought frozen, and so we have to stay on our food costs and know how much it's costing us, because you got to change quick. You see those high dollar restaurants that have market price. We can't do that. We don't do that, and we stay pretty consistent with our pricing. But you got to know your numbers, because you'll wake up one day and you ain't got the money to pay bills.
So what are some of the areas? So if we gave 3 areas where a business owner, so I think there's 3 types of business owners, right? The person who's embarking, the person who's growing, and then the person who's sustaining. And ultimately, if you're a business owner, you want to be in all of those realms. You want to be growing, right? You want to be at a place where you're getting to sustain. But what would be some of the financial, like if you looked at it and you said, okay, look at this, and this in your numbers, and this will help you today in your business, what would those be?
Our biggest cost right now is labor. Because what happened is when all the people were getting the money and from the government and not working and living at home, we were having a hard time getting employees. So what we had to do is raise our hourly wage. We went from $9 in our kitchen. We went from $9 to $16 within 2 years, and it's hard to absorb that and force your customers to absorb that cost. So you have to look at other areas. The government government requirements has cost us money that we used to didn't have as far as regulations. And, we have a full-time HR, actually several HR people, and need more because of the number of employees we have. So labor costs is one. Of course, food costs, it's all over the place because you never know from week to week what your pricing is going to be on commodities. We don't chinch on anything as far as the quality of the product. Our fajita skirt meat is by far our best seller, and it don't matter how high we raise it, people buy it, and it's for fajitas. And but those are the two areas: food costs and labor costs, and your comps are probably your biggest items that you can control. But we try to drive sales, and being, I guess you can call me a bean counter or whatever, but I look at the top line. I look at sales, and if sales are there, it's hard to excuse my language, but hard to piss the profits away. But
Who, just, it's amazing because it seems like you have control of both sides, right? And so, I had one of my friends, which I wish that I would have talked to him earlier. His name was Frank Gambuza, and he told me a thing called bottom up accounting, and I wasn't aware of it. You're probably aware of it because you're a lot smarter than me, BJ. But he said, as a company, choose your profit margin, pay yourself first, and then figure out how to be able to do all the rest. So the way that he put it to me is like, if you take $1 into your place and you wanted a 15% profit margin, take 15 cents, put it in an account that you cannot touch. Take the 85 cents and make that 85 work for the rest of the areas. And it really shifted things, but I don't know that, I was in a different business. Could that bottom up accounting work in a restaurant?
It can. Because your numbers. Your numbers are going to stay pretty close to the same each period. And we do a 4-week period instead of a monthly accounting. So each week kind of compares to the next and to the prior year. But yeah, you can do that. But our costs jumped so quick that we couldn't furlough it over to our customers. They probably would have paid it. And every price increase that we've done, nobody has said anything, but it's just our integrity. We didn't feel good about doing that. You go to some places, the non-alcoholic beverages are $3.50. Ours is $2.95. It's hard to cross that $3 for Coke or for that type of beverage. So we kind of eat that. Our kids' meals are cheap, and we do that so the family can come out to eat. We probably could make a good bit more money if we priced it higher, but we look at our volume of customers that come through the door, and work on that sense. But yeah, you can do bottoms up, yeah. But either we're too nice or we're not smart enough.
No. But the reason why when he told me about it, it blew my mind because a lot of times as business owners, then we take in the money, yeah, and then we pay every other person. We pay, the costs of, our hard costs. We pay our labor. We pay everything, and what's left over is our profit. And when he shifted my mindset on that, saying that no, choose your profit, choose what you want to make, and if that was 15, 20%, whatever it was, then when you paid yourself the same way financially, if you paid yourself first, you would figure out a way to be able to pay everything else. And it kind of just shifted mindset for me. But I was curious in the restaurant business because there's different costs. I didn't deal with perishable items. That's a place that I want to go right now and talk about because I mean, the restaurant business is one of the toughest businesses in the entire world, but you're with a smile on your face, 4 or 5 principles that you stick to, you make sure that your integrity is intact, you treat people amazing, you build your team, and it seems like it's the greatest industry in the world in your eyes. So, like whenever someone talks about a restaurant, they talk about the difficulty of it. And I'm not saying that it's not difficult, but you have seemed to find some sort of combination. What is that? What if you had to break it down in 3 things, and you said if you do X, 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 and only 3, what would that be to be able to own and to be able to grow a successful restaurant business?
Hire quality people and train them. Train continuously. Have a clean environment, a facility that the customers can look at either our uniforms or how we handle ourselves, and know from that that we've got a clean restaurant and we do things right, all the way to our landscaping. We spend a fortune on landscaping, but it comes back. Our customers come up, what are y'all planting right there? And we try to find some exotic things, but we spend a ton of money on landscaping. That just the first thing they see is our landscaping. The other thing is we put music out in our parking lot. So when they open that door, they're thinking Mexican and having fun. It relates to all that. And so I know that's more than 3, but those 3 equal happy customers.
So let's go here, BJ, because 8 years ago things changed, right? I mean, perspective changed, life changed. You started to see things through a different lens. I mean, you have this man who, started off, went to college, got the CPA part of it, became a CFO, then went into, entrepreneurship. You start growing the businesses, everything like that. 8 years ago, you got some news that kind of shifted things for you. Can you talk about it?
Yeah, I was diagnosed with Parkinson's on my birthday, 9/22, 2014, and I pretty much knew that I had it. I'd gone through probably 3 or 4 or 5 months with different symptoms. My rolling hand, tremors, lack of smell, lack of taste, cognitive issues, fatigued, and my dad had Parkinson's, so I could relate to some of the symptoms he had. But when I went to we went to who was supposed to be the specialist of Parkinson's in Huntsville, and I went to him, me and my wife, and he said, "You have Parkinsonian symptoms, and here's a pill. I'll see you in 6 months." Well, we walk out the door and look at each other and says, "What did he say?" And so she had a head injury a couple of years before that, and we had a neurologist that we really liked, and so she called him and says, "Do you handle Parkinson's patients?" And he said, "That's all I'm doing right now." And so I hooked up with him, and it changed my life. It for the better, because it made me slow down a little bit, and open my heart to things that maybe I hadn't thought about. But one thing that I did do is we fought it. Me and my family fought it, and because I didn't want to be like my dad. Back then, they wanted you to not do much exercise. The medicine was not as good as it is now. So he didn't get out as much. He didn't socialize. So I kind of did the reverse of that. I exercised like a maniac. I found a trainer. I had a great doctor that finally that they got my cocktail right. I went to UAB, which is a great facility, University of Alabama at Birmingham, and I had a movement disorder doctor there, and so I just went about that process of knowing that I was going to beat this thing, and I didn't want to be. My trainer, first time I met him, he said, "What's your why?" And I said, "What?" He said, "What's your why? Before I train you, before I work with you, you got to tell me your why." And so I said, "Well, I want to be around when my grandkids grow up. I want to see them dance, and I want to see them play sports, and I want to see my kids grow up to be good citizens. And I don't want to be dependent on anybody. I don't want to be in a wheelchair." And so he said, "All right, we're never going to say the P word again." And we didn't. We worked. I worked out with him for 5 years, and we may have said Parkinson's twice in those 5 years. To him, it was just a condition, and and that's how we treated it. And he was accountable. He was accountable. I was accountable to him because he put so much effort into it. I'd be on vacations, and he'd text me my workout that day, and my wife said, "Is he going to let you have a vacation?" I said, "No, he don't quit." So. Like I said, it was probably one of the better things that's ever happened to me because I'm in great shape now. I one of the symptoms was cognitive, and so one of the things that helps with cognitive is new learnings. So that's why I read so much. That's why I read so much about leadership and listen to all the YouTube videos and to ward off memory problems or cognitive issues. And but I don't advertise it much in the stores. People know it, but I try to outwork them. We have a blog. Me and my wife, when I was diagnosed, we went to a friend of mine and said, "Should we do a book? You know, a journal?" And he said, "Why don't you just do a blog?" And so we started doing a blog. My wife learned how to do a blog, and I would write the main content, and she would edit and add stuff to it and add pictures to it. And we did about 24, and we did it more for ourselves. And but it got to be where people that had Parkinson's would read it, and it would make an impact on them. We let it go. It kind of what happened during COVID is one of my bank accounts was hacked that the processor was drafting on, and so we lost it and didn't put any effort to get it back going. But she's doing it now. She hopefully have it in the next several days. All the posts that we put on there, again, we put about 24 posts, and it did make an impact. And but one of the things I wrote on was the Superman complex, that I was going to outwork anybody in that restaurant, and basically I did. And my doctor said, you got to slow down. You got to give the stuff that you don't like to do, which was the accounting, and get and keep the stuff that you like to do. So the stuff I like to do is being with our employees and making an impact on their lives. And but I still have my days. I'll come home and take a nap, twice, 3 times a week, and that rejuvenates me. I get up early. To have that quiet time to meditate and drink my coffee and listen to Christian music or listen to motivational speakers and have that positive attitude before I hit the ground running, and because I can stay strong if I do that. and have that mentality and have that positive attitude. And I try to give that to people that are in the same situation. I'll get a call from a friend says, my uncle just got diagnosed. Would you mind talking to him? And so I'll go over there and say, basically it's not a life sentence. It's you can live a great life and a happy life and a fulfilling life if you just do some things that I was doing and I'm still doing, is make an impact on people's lives. It's just I don't think about it that bit much, other than the positive side of Parkinson's and helping people. And it's just it's almost like, I hate to say it like this, but I'm different than other people, and but in a good way. And so, but I've had my family's been great. They treat me normal, just like a grandpa and a dad. If they get mad at me, they don't mind telling me. So I can't use that as an excuse, and I won't. But it's Huntsville is a great place to have had Parkinson's because of all the things that are going on here. We have a Parkinson's Center. We have the city is building a building for what we call Rock Steady Boxing. It's an organization that was started by a guy that had Parkinson's, and he found out that boxing would cure some of his symptoms, and it did. I had a trainer for several years, and this director of the Rock Steady kept showing up at places that I would show up at, and so I finally joined, and the speed bag, my cognitive went away. It improved my cognitive. My balance was better. Everything was better that I thought that I didn't have a problem with. But the camaraderie of being around other people that have the same diseases I have, we can ask each other questions about their doctors and their medicine they're taking, how they're feeling, and it just it's very rewarding. And I also do a loud crowd. One of the symptoms is swallowing. I couldn't eat certain things, like chicken or bread, and most people with or some people with Parkinson has a low voice, and so I go to this thing called a loud crowd, and we talk with intent, and it strengthens your vocal cords and your esophagus, and so I'm very active out in the community, and to prove to people that it's like you can live a great life. You can.
So help us to understand too, because I think a lot of times when someone goes through when they get a diagnosis or there's a major event, then things shift. But what about the people out there that haven't got the diagnosis? What would you say to them? Because there's the kids right now that think my circumstances are dire right now, and they're talking about maybe they just lost their job, or they're going through a divorce, or they're going through this, but they're not going through the things that you're going through. And I'm not comparing the two, but a lot of times being able to have that wisdom, what would you wish that maybe someone would have told you before the diagnosis for you to start focusing on that now is just you're aware of?
That's a hard question. I guess just to appreciate life more and appreciate people more, and don't try to, one of the things you talk about is celebrate success and we don't do that enough in our company and in life. Things that happen for the good, we're moving on to the next thing. And so if that would probably be one of the most definite things that just enjoy the journey, enjoy the process of life, and celebrate successes, celebrate life, and connect with people. This group that we're in is just it's been fascinating because we got so many smart people that are joining, and so many kind people that we're connecting and talking to, and that's only going to help us grow as individuals. And whether you're 65 and got Parkinson's, or whether you're 35 and you're healthy as a rat, it don't matter. I still think that I have a lot to live, and I'm gonna fight this thing to the very end. But I don't think about it that way. Tomorrow's a new day. Tomorrow's a new shift. Tonight I'm going to a restaurant. It's a new shift, and that's the way my life is. Is whatever happens bad today, tomorrow's gonna be a better day. And people that have difficulty in their lives, they go to that mountain. They want to climb that mountain as quick as possible. But take your time, and there's sun on the other side, and it's going to be good.
So BJ is 65 years old, going through what you have in your life. I mean, and seeing the things that you have. What have you realized that's not that important?
What's not important? To me, almost everything is important, especially now. I think that maybe I took for granted certain things, people maybe, family maybe. I worked too much. I didn't slow down. I didn't take the time to enjoy certain things that they did, but I'm making up for it now. And I think it's never too late to be kind to somebody, make an impact on their lives. One of my favorite and first YouTube that I listened to was a guy named Inky Johnson. It's a great story if anybody wants to listen to it. Inky Johnson. He wanted to be an NFL football player, so he lived in a bad neighborhood in Atlanta, 14 people in a 2-bedroom house, and so he saw his outlet as getting playing for the NFL, and he made it to Tennessee. He was a junior at Tennessee, and his coach called him up and says, "You're going to be in the top 30 draft picks this year. All you got to do is play the rest of the season." He was going to be a millionaire. And second game of the season, he had a career-ending injury. But the story goes on that his sweat and his tears and his process that he did to make it to that point carried him to a different level. And he's a motivational speaker now. And so my daughter sent me that first podcast, and I never knew what a podcast was. And I said, "What is this?" She says, "Well, he reminds me of you because the doctor told him that he would never be able to use his arm again." He said, "No, Doc, you're wrong. I can make an impact on people's lives, inspire people." And that resonated with me. And I listened to it. He was number 29, and sometimes I paranoid, so I listened to that for straight 29 days. I listened to that same 39-minute podcast, and finally it hit me that you can do things that like he's doing to make impacts on people's lives, and that's what I try to do in the restaurants, anywhere, because people need each other, and so being 65, I have some experience. I made some bad calls and made some good calls, but I'm on a journey right now, and it's a fun journey. People ask me, why don't you retire? You're 65. I don't want to. I'm having too much fun in the business, and and a Friday night or Saturday night's hard. It's all day, and man, when you go home, you feel like you've done something, especially if you've made a friend as an employee as a friend, and you know a little bit about them, and so that's how we keep our people. Is we know them, and they know that we care about them, and that's really it. Uh, I'm not gonna say it's rocket science. I swore I wouldn't use that again, but it's a fun time. I'm having a great time, and I don't know when I'll retire. I guess when they run me off.
Well, BJ, it's amazing because you've used that term before, and I remember even in one of the groups, one of the mastermind calls that we did, you said it's not rocket science, and I was like, hey, wait a second, BJ, because it's rocket science to all the rest of us. It's simple to you because it's your purpose, right? And this is a place where I want to go to is you talked about, the CPA part, all everything, and then you found the restaurant, right? And a lot of people, when they listen to stories like yours, they're like, oh my gosh, maybe I need to be in the restaurant. And what I want to invite you to, if you're listening right now or you're watching, which I want to thank you, I want to tell you that be inspired by these stories, but be inspired by them to find your purpose. Just because BJ found his purpose in the restaurant business does not mean you need to be in the restaurant business. It could be, but how can a person find that purpose? Because BJ, once you found it, it's like you have an unlimited source of energy to be able to, like you were just saying it yourself, on Friday and Saturday night, it's hard, but I do it because it's what I'm supposed to do. How can a person find what they're supposed to do?
I think you got to get outside your house and cut the TV off and get out and mingle with the crowd, the people that are out there doing things, and church people, just anybody that has some activity that you're associated with, and talk to them. It's amazing what you can find out if you just ask them what they're doing and why they're doing it, and who are they doing it for, and it's I don't know. It's just I would never thought I'd be in a restaurant business as a kid or as an adult, but you can always find that niche somewhere that man, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed coaching, or I enjoyed working at that clothing store, or whatever, or an engineer. But there's connections, and you're helping us make those connections right here with this group, and I just think that's how you do it. You connect, and then you find out what you want to do, and if you do it well, you'll succeed at it. But you have to have a passion. You got to want to go in that restaurant, and you got to want to, go when you really don't want to. When I was diagnosed, I would drive to my restaurant because I had an issue with being around people, being around crowds for a short time. And I would go to the restaurant and go to the back parking lot, and I couldn't get out of my car. And I did that for 3 or 4 weeks. But what I found out is once I went in, the people that love me, the customers and our employees, they helped me through this process. And there's people, if you just talk to them and get that connection, that's all it takes. don't be afraid to ask. And I actually got into this business because one of my clients, a Domino's pizza franchisee in St. Louis, needed somebody in house, and I was kind of getting bored of public accounting. It was so hard. Public accounting was so hard because you did a whole lot of different things, taxes, audits, and you wasn't good. You wasn't great at any of them, and I just didn't feel comfortable. So I joined him in house, and kind of just stuck with it, and moved back to Huntsville with Stakeout Franchising, and my partner sold the Stakeout Franchising, and we opened Mexican restaurants. So if somebody told me I would have opened a Mexican restaurant, like I said, I'd never eaten enchiladas. I didn't know what that was, and but every day I eat something from that store, and it's just I don't know. You got to get out of your shell if you're not happy with what you're doing, and just beat the doors down, find out, talk to your friends, and somewhere there's a piece of nugget that will draw you in, and there you go. You know. Um,
Well, BJ, I think that you're an incredible example of it, and I want the people out there that are listening too, or that if you're watching, what I want you to understand is that it's not going to hit you like a ton of bricks. A lot of times, there's going to be small little opportunities that are wrapped in, not the greatest situation. It wasn't like BJ was posed with, hey, you're going to own 8 restaurants, do 32 million, have 600 employees in your company, and this is the offer that I'm going to give you. That's not what it was. It came through that work, and stepping out and doing a little something different. And what I want to compliment you on, BJ, is that you have inspired me to want to grow, to want to learn, because every time when I talk to you, you're like, I listened to this podcast, I read this book, I'm doing these things. And it's incredible to see it. And when you look at the principles of it, they come back to very simple, making sure that you connect with people, that you're exceeding expectation, that you work as a team, and that you're having fun with it. I mean, it's mind-blowing that it can be that simple, but most people look past the simple because they want to make it complicated. Yeah. And so, BJ, you know why I started the podcast, and I want to thank you, BJ, because you every time when we talk, you're like, hey, you just listened to Kirk Chug. He asked me when we got on the episode today, he's like, hey, did you put on cologne? Because I know you put on cologne for somebody else, and but I started the podcast because I wanted to take iconic people like yourself, and I wanted my kids to realize that the BJs of the world aren't superheroes, that they are human beings with sometimes really cool circumstances, sometimes not that great of circumstances. Sometimes they get a diagnosis 8 years ago that changes things, but that they keep on moving, that they keep growing, and that their attitude is on fire. And I wanted to show my kids that anything was possible that way. So what advice would you have for Maddox and McKenna? And if you could use both their names and refer to yourself as Uncle BJ, because that's who you are to my kids right now. So.
McKenna and Maddox, my advice to you would be that you're going to have some pitfalls, and you're going to have some difficulties in life down the road. And when you get to that mountain, climb it, and because you're not going to be able to go around it, you're going to have to climb it, because there's sun on the other side, and that it's gonna be good. It's gonna be better. It's gonna make you stronger. And don't shy away from it. Believe in yourself, and have the confidence that you can do it. And I know you can, especially with a dad like you.
Well, BJ, I want to thank you. You have been absolutely incredible. I mean, what I've taken away from this, from so many different aspects, because when people look at success in business and they're like, oh wow, then everything is going well. But with you, it's like, no, I choose every single day. What you said was, if the day is not great, I have the thought in my head, it's going to be better tomorrow. It's been absolute gold. And what I love about you too, BJ, is you mentor people. Let me ask you this. And I think I've asked this of you before, and I think I might know the answer because you've possibly told me. For a person out there that wants to get mentored by a person like you, what does it cost? What does that person have to do? A young kid that's in the business or wants to learn business or whatever it is, if they come to you and ask you, BJ, can you help me? What's the investment for them, or what do they have to do to be able to be mentored by a person at the level that you're playing at?
I've got a young guy that's been with us. He was 16 as a busser. He went to college, played football, got married, had a baby. Didn't finish college. He's trying to finish it now. And he came to me and says, I want to understand leadership. And so we meet at 8:30 every Wednesday. We've done it 3 times now. And I'll give him some podcasts or some books to read. And if he keeps meeting with me every Wednesday and is eager and eager to learn, I'll stay with him. Because that kid is going to be somebody, and hopefully he's somebody for us.
BJ, how much does that cost him every week?
It doesn't cost him nothing.
Okay.
It cost him nothing. It gives. I'm the one that makes the money. Well, I'm not making money. I'm making a friend, and I'm making a feel good moment. I'm just, that's that, what do you call that? When you get that hit on your likes, dopamine. I'm getting a dopamine hit when I help somebody. And when I make an impact on somebody's lives, I get that dopamine hit, and it feels good.
Well, I want to encourage every single person out there that's watching, that's listening. If you're watching on YouTube and you haven't subscribed, mash the button. If you're listening, I want to thank you. And the thing that helps us the most is the reviews. So if you do a review, you rate the show, that helps us more than even the downloads. We want you to download it too, but we want you to do that. But if you are watching or you are listening, what I want you to realize is that the mentor that you want is at the end of you actually just showing up. Because when I have interviewed some of the top minds in the world, like a BJ, some of the greatest entrepreneurs in our country, like a BJ, I ask them that same question all the time. And I ask them, how much would it cost for you to mentor somebody? And they all give me the exact same price, which is nothing except the fact that you will listen, you will show up, and then you will bring back the results of the things that you actually applied. I wish that I would have known this at a very, very early age, because the world is open to all of us. Seek out, number one, seek out the person who's doing it. If you want to know how to run a restaurant at the highest level, get a hold of BJ. His website is in the comments. And then when you get a hold of him, make sure that you ask for a specific amount of time with specific questions. Don't waste his time. But also the way that you don't waste his time is by applying the things and bringing back the story of you applying the principles that he has given. And it blows my mind, because I used to think I need to spend $50 million or $5,000 or $10,000 to be coached by these people, when the people who are really doing it are willing to give it to you as long as you're willing to honor it through your story and just become successful. And for us, all we want is your story. Am I correct on this, BJ? All we want is the story. And so that's
Yeah.
where I want to encourage you. I want to thank everyone listening and watching for helping the podcast to be in the top 1% globally. That blows my mind every time I say it. But it's just my hat's off to you, and I thank you. Share it with every single person. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube. We need 1,000 subscribers because my son Maddox thinks I'm really cool when that happens. BJ, you have been an absolute pleasure, and I can't wait to have you on the podcast again. But you're stuck with me because I'm going to force you to be my friend for the rest of your life.
I can handle that.
BJ, take them out with top 3 things with leadership. If they just, if you could only give 3 points on leadership, let's finish it with that.
Have a strong interaction, or connection with your people. Be consistent with your managing style, and reward them with bonuses or higher pay, whatever it takes to keep them if they're doing the job. And that could be number 1. But money doesn't keep people there. I've seen it. It's caring about somebody, and they know you're caring about them. That will rise above anything.
Bang, bang, and bang. Guys, keep it as simple as possible. Check out BJ, rosiesmexicancantina.com. It's in the comments. You need to do that. Check out all of our sponsors. Make sure you patronize them. Check out Chris Nagel with Private Money Club and with Money School. Finley Volvo Cars of Las Vegas. Jim DiGiulio, one of the greatest service experiences that you'll ever have in your life. And I want to thank you. BJ, you're officially off the hot seat.